You're listening to my conversation with hip-hop artist Touch. This is Africentric Radio, broadcast on CJSR FM 88. I'm your host, Minister Faust. For more information on Africentric Radio, visit my website, ministerfaust.com. To subscribe to podcasts of the show, visit iTunes Podcasts and search for CJSR Africentric Radio and The Terror Dome. We now return on Africentric Radio to my conversation with the hip-hop artist Touch. What is, I will say it this way very pointedly, even though I don't think most people in hip-hop would be willing to say this, but what is defective inside of North America's hip-hop communities that you have that kind of really rude, obnoxious behavior directed at other artists that, for instance, a punk band, an electronic band, a reggae band, a rock band doesn't get most of the time, to my knowledge anyway, you can correct me if I'm wrong, when they go to another city. I mean, you might get ignored in your own city, but you go to another city and they're not going to treat you as if you're a disease.
Well, I just want to say that it's not like that anymore as to the degree that that it was back then. Okay, there's a lot of love now across Canada, but that being said, I think it is the nature of hip-hop itself. It's a battle art form. Part of it is battle, so it's territorial. I have to attribute that to just hip-hop itself. That's what MCs do, and that's what they feel. They feel they're being challenged if there's another MC in their city. You know, and I'm the same way. I mean, if you're in my city, you know, back when Ghetto Concept and Rascals and Chaos and you know, when they were touring, we had the attitude that they're in our territory. So we made sure that our show was off the hook. You know, I think we were a little nicer because we didn't have that Toronto attitude or the Vancouver attitude, right? Where, you know, they get all the coverage, they get all the media, they're the big boys, you know. So we're nicer to these cats, but we still made sure that, you know, our show was on par with them, just out of animosity.
I mean, you know, I don't want to come off as if I'm claiming to be a saint. I'm competitive myself. If I'm doing some kind of an event, speaking or doing poetry or whatever, my intent is to blow everybody off the stage. But it's not, for me, it's not regional. Maybe that just means I'm more selfish. I don't know. But it does seem to me that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong on this, that the downside to that kind of regionalistic, hyper-competitive attitude is that it's much harder for us to do what we as African artists, as African entrepreneurs or whatever else in this country and across the world, to actually combine our resources so that we can build strong companies, institutions, artist guilds, whatever.
And that's absolutely correct. You know, that's why it's like that now. It's a lot more friendly. And back then, I mean, it was very competitive, but at the end, there was still no real animosity or hard feelings, right? At the end, you still, you know, gave each other a pound and a phone number switch, you know? So, I mean, yeah. I mean, it was we were a little more disrespected, you know, back then than we are now. But back then, I mean, they didn't know us, you know? We're new, who these guys, you know? So, but I mean, now, I got a lot of connections from Prince Edward Island to Burnaby, you know. So, I mean, and that's how Alienated got made.
Sit on a throne, king, one time, murder run, deep begin amongst the common folk, slaughtered alive. I'm the clear voice of reason in the circle of tyrants, conquering lion of Judah. My verses are diamonds, words are like wars, pen are like swords. Guns are like the thunder in the water, it's the universal law. Praises due to the Holy One, one God, one love. I will make the whole world breathe as one. In my younger years, I laughed at the idealistic. A bad brain, brandishing a stainless steel pistol. Pissed off, pissing in the wind. Now I sit witnessing, everything is everything in the end. If I knew then what I know now, I would change it. Make it work, restructure, rearrange it. From a great dream, I have been awakened. But isn't that the point, young star? Listen to him sing.
know the government, they go to molest us. You see the people loving it. The world is progressive. You see the wars are gonna end. Uh-oh, they go weapons. See, we ain't gotta be friends, and we ain't gotta be people, but we ain't fucking at them. And they ain't pulling no triggers, and they ain't fucking our friends. And the news is reality. Imagine that. Tune in to Channel 7, they ain't talking about casualties. And education is free. You can be walking down the street in front of police puffing a tree. They ain't looking at me. No, they ain't got no time for that shit, because narcotics are free. A marriage, it is a 5-year contract. You renew it and it's a wrap, y'all, that's that. Take care of your kids and you gon' pay half tax. Welcome to the future, light it and pass that.
I would rig the election, then increase income tax collection, develop weapons of mass destruction while you pay for protection, create the UN, then sidestep them. Touch been wanting to rule the world since I was 11. Change weather patterns with HARP technology and worship geometry and study the isosceles triangle. A top that sits in equilateral. I'd initiate wars with propaganda before the battle. Put a chip in your child's mouth before his first rattle. Put steroids in cattle, night vision cameras in the shadows that recognize facial features and unnatural behavior. High technology like cars that emit water vapor and drill for oil in this lake here. Cause polluting the earth is putting my son through daycare. I'd attack my own city and only tell the mayor, then claim it was space ghosts that hate us and live in the air.
Back to the Touch of NATO album. There's a sequence towards the end of the record where you have a vignette of a fellow. I don't know who he is. You can tell me who he is.
Junkyard Dog.
Okay, so you know what I'm going to refer to.
Yep.
And he's saying a lot of extremely, really shockingly awful things about women. And it seems to be quite an artistic risk because you follow that up with a contrasting song, a song that essentially attacks those ideas. But your sample of this fellow is so long that it appears, because of its length, it appears that you're advocating. Like, it would be easy just to turn off the record and say, whoa, I've had enough. And, fortunately I didn't. Because then I go, okay, here's the great song afterwards. Tell me about why you chose to make such a risky move with that.
Well, Junkyard is... He loves NATO to death. He loves me to death. I mean, he's a good guy. We help him out once in a while. Make sure he's, if he's falling on hard times, NATO's definitely there for him.
Who is he? Is he a musician?
No, he's basically a friend.
Oh, okay.
He's a friend in the neighborhood, in Inglewood. NATO's befriended him, and he's got a lot of stories. He's a war vet. He's a Vietnam vet. So he's got a lot of stories. So there's been points when we. NATO will tape him in the studio. So we've got a lot of clips of him. Being just a harsh, I don't know, coming back from a war, I'm sure that will change you.
He's a traumatized fellow.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's got a lot of opinions. But he means nothing but good. He's a good guy. But that clip actually was just sitting in NATO's vault. I mean, we were just going through interludes and whatnot, and, he put it on there, and I was like, same kind of reaction you were. I'm like, yo, man, at that point, I didn't have that song written. The only way this is going on the album is I'm going to have to go right after it and try to soften it up somehow. So I took every word he said and just wrote a line about it, but just the opposite, right? But I mean, that song was really just to allow that interlude on my album, basically. So I take if I have to, I'll do something like that. Like, that's how me and NATO work. He always has ideas. I bounce off his ideas, and he's come up with a couple ideas for songs on that album, right? So I mean, I have no problems with working around and trying to mold the album.
How did your mom feel about that song?
You know what? My mom gives me nothing but support, right? So she understands. I mean, she listens to rap too. I hear it in her car, right? So she knows, and she knows me.
Love ain't a four-letter word. I believe in happiness. I can't believe it's a lie. Even the crappiest of relationships with dishonest cunts that act hypocritical have me glad to be stuck chilling with the hoe. It's tragic, and I know they have tits, but why you gotta treat them like shit? Why you gotta diss? They weren't made to be on their backs. You better check your facts. I'm the one to draw her bath and make sure chick got cash. It ain't true. You can't just bend them over against the wall in the back of a club when you're not sober. They don't like being abused. They don't like being used. They're not garbage or disposable refuge that you get kicked in the curb and gangbang. That's absurd, even if your vision's blurred and words are slurred. Cause you like double Hennessy's and you on your third pitcher of Guinness. Listen to me, I ain't finished. Don't ever let me hear you call them sluts. I rub my fingers back and forth all over their asses like cuts. I love big butts, but women are people you can trust. They never fuss or complain about your ends too much. Listen to
love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Bend over and touch your toes. Love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Bend over and touch your toes.
What he said was all wrong, should be the name of the song. It's completely coincidental you're wearing that thong. Body shaped like a bong with next to nothing on. You do Trong, you the new woman. My entrance long and drawn out like chess championship bouts. Stalemated, but I have no doubt you in the right. Without you, I lose sight. I can't focus. I'm like most of us, I miss closeness. I get choked and shit when I have all this time to myself. I'm trying to find someone with whom I can share my wealth and lose myself. Put pictures on the shelf, you make my motherfucking heart melt. That's how I felt, I'm all about women's lip. You ain't gotta clean my crib, catch me in the back, barbecuing some ribs in the bib that says my other car is a crib. Let's have kids and forgive them for whatever they did, let them live.
Love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Bend over and touch your toes. Love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Bend over and touch your toes.
Yeah, let's buy pets. I'm as ugly as it gets. Losing you was a threat. When we met, you loosened your barrette. All I wanted to see was your hair get wet. Wondering what ring you were gonna get placed on your finger. Let's get married. The ways I love you are varied like rainbows. I appreciate how your frame goes. I'll buy you clothes, I'll buy you dinner. I'll take you to Winners and give you my jacket if I ever see you shiver. Breakfast in bed, I'll let you mess with my head and never take for granted anything you said. You don't kiss me enough like Lady Luck. Let's do it in a pickup truck, but you'll have to duck. Hazard lights on, stuck in the muck. Let's buy a house and split the payments. Finger our names in wet pavements. Me plus you is a mathematical equation. You think I'm cool even though I'm Canadian. Amazing.
Love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Bend over and touch your toes. Love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Love is a four-letter word. Bend over and touch your toes.
Now, so I guess in a sense there's a triad there, because there's the song we just mentioned, which ends it all, in which you know it's a corrective song. Mm-hmm. There's the sample of Junkyard Dog, and then before that there's a song, if I got the order right, where you're telling a story about I guess it's the Billie Jean scenario, right? Where you've got a woman accusing a fellow of having born his child, and then there's a kind of a Jerry Springer, no, not Jerry Springer, the other guy, Maury Povich element of who will, you know, the paternity test. Mm-hmm. Now, when I heard that song, having already met you, I was very surprised about that song.
Okay.
Because it seemed to me that was a hearkening back to an era of like Ice Cube, America's Most Wanted song about, you know, that essentially is putting African women in a poor position of being gold diggers, using their wombs as